Hello everybody, this is good old Beast Mode once again with some commentary over some gameplay. This one, as you can see, if you haven't already noticed, a little bit different from what I normally do. Obviously I do a lot of COD, but if you know me personally, I'm a big time Cowboy fan. I watch a lot of Shango's videos on YouTube, so I figured making a video with this new capture card I got about 2-3 weeks ago it'll be a lot easier than trying to commentate or comment on a lot of his videos to get responses, because I do want to put out a little bit of information. Not to mention, other people might like it too, because I want to do this during the season as well. But this video is mostly going to cover the Cowboy draft. I know it's a little late. From the time you guys get this, may have a day or two before the draft, but I wanted to get this out so maybe other people can see what maybe the Cowboys should be thinking in this draft. And what my thoughts are on it, and also to maybe rebuttal some of the things that good old Shango said in his videos. Granted, I support this dude 100%. I do believe he knows a lot about the Cowboys, but like any other person, I think I have my own views on some of the things. I think a lot of it, but you'll see, I think a lot of us mirror together. So without further ado, we're going to stress mostly on the first and second round. We may be able to hit the third round some later round, but the first and second round is where we need to hit home runs at. What I mean by home runs are starters. We need to hit starters there, because that's going to help out with the whole depth situation in certain positions, and it will definitely help out with the personnel and us getting a winning record. Making this new 4-3, Tampa 2, whatever we want to call this defense, making it work. So we definitely need to hit there. Also fixing holes in the offense to where Tony Romo's on his back and we can actually still score points and not have as many turnovers. So these two guys that we draft in these areas have to be able to fix one of those two problems. Is the biggest thing. So first thing we're going to start off with is moving down here to positions to see if we even need to fill those. I believe the first position we should go over, which will be real short, real easy because I think it's already fixed, is the quarterback position, because that's probably the most important position I believe in any team. Quarterback position, and we're done. It's fixed. Whether you like Tony Romo or not, it's fixed. That's who we got. That's who we got to work with. And granted, I can see a lot of people saying that they're not Tony Romo fans. They don't like Tony Romo. But hey, I can look at a lot worse situations. We can look at all the people that basically almost drafted before us. They've got a lot worse situations for the most part at quarterback, especially the guys in the top 10. I bet you they would jump for Tony Romo. So I think we should go ahead and keep what we got. And he's not that bad. He makes his mistakes like any other person. Maybe sometimes perhaps in the worst possible moments ever, as we as Cowboys fans believe, but he's a pretty good quarterback. And I think once he wins the Super Bowl, a lot of people will turn him around and be like, okay, he's a lot better than you think. So that's good. Next spot I think is very underrated sometimes. Maybe in this draft has brought it to light a lot more just because they happen to be the best players in the draft, but the offensive line, which we need help on. We need huge help on. Not so much at tackle as I would say guard, interior line, and center. And the first two names that always come to mind here are Chance Warmack and Mr. Jonathan Cooper. First off, I think Chance Warmack's going to be long gone. If he's not, Dallas Cowboy fans should jump out of their seats and grab the ticket from Jerry Jones' hands to grab this cat. I'm telling you, we need to grab him. Same thing with Cooper. If he's still there, which I don't think he's going to be there, and I'll go into why I don't think he's going to be there in a second, but I don't think he's going to be there neither. Those two are slam dunks, because we need to either get rid of Free, which I agree with Mr. Shango about. We either need to cut Free or he needs to take a pay cut because he's not as good as what we're paying him for, and we really don't need him, especially if we can draft one of these two cats, except for maybe depth. And for what he's getting paid, he's getting paid way too much to be a second string cat. He's getting paid way too much to be a first string wannabe. So yeah, definitely not do that. Maybe we can even trade him. Hopefully we can sucker somebody into it. Next, or with that Cooper thing, I think the Cooper thing is going to depend, especially even Warmack a little bit, is going to more or less depend on the Chargers and the Dolphins, because they need linemen. And I think the top 3 linemen are going to be gone before they're able to get one of them. Especially the top 2 with his Fisher and Jokel. I think those guys are going to be gone. So we're moving down, or they're moving down. Being the Chargers and the Dolphins, they're thinking, okay, we need somebody. They might be able to. One of them's going to get Johnson, Lane Johnson. Okay, that's great. but that still leaves another person. So that means one of them's got to take Cooper, Warmack, or Fluker. Those are the next three guys that can almost pretty much fill their needs. And that's where the Chargers are going to have to look, because they both need a tackle and a guard. And so I think they're going to take either Cooper or Warmack, depending on which one they think is better. And if they can't move up and say, hey, if he fails at tackle, we can move him over to guard, and we haven't lost anything. He's still a Pro Bowl guard, and if he can't move over to tackle. I don't think they're going to drop down to Fluker, because he's a running guy. They try and pass a lot, especially with the old Phil Rivers. I think they're going to throw a lot in Charger land. So I don't see that. One thing I do hope, though, is they're able to trade up with a team that doesn't need to tackle, and then they're able to get their guy, so that moves it down. So even if that does happen, though, the Dolphins need one, and they're kind of in that same boat. They don't run the ball a lot. They like to throw, so they want to throw and tackle, and so Fluker may not fit in their scheme. Opposed to that, better than Cooper or Warmack would. So I see those two being gone. So that's where we're at the line. So if we don't got one of those two, and Fluker comes down to us, then I would say we give Fluker a hard look. The reason why I say this, and I disagree a little bit with Shango on this one, is because Fluker has been looked at as a tackle. And what I'm thinking as the Cowboys is we want to move him in as a guard. And it gets said that he doesn't have great footwork, and the ability to pass block is basically what it is. And I think that's because he's being compared to other tackles. If you compare him to other guards, he steps up a little bit. I'm not saying he's, oh my God, you remove him to guard, he's the best thing since sliced bread. Not saying that. But I think he's a lot better at that guard position. Not to mention, he can bowl people over at that guard position. He can run at block as that guard position. So he could really help us out. And like I said, they probably got scouts that look at that kind of stuff, and I'm just hoping to give it a hard look with that. And as fans, we shouldn't be too mad if we end up drafting Fluker for that purpose. Because they say, hey man, he may not be a good tackle, and that's what he normally plays, but hey, we can move this cat over to guard, and he's pretty good. He's pretty good. Not to mention, also with guard, not saying that you don't need footwork at all, but you don't need it as much, because as a tackle, you're playing against speed rushers, guys that got finesse moves. So you got to have great footwork, great balance. You got to be on it, because if you're not, quarterback's getting sizzled. So you move into guard, and you don't have as much of that. Granted, you still get it, but you just don't have it as much. And you do a lot more run blocking, especially between the quote-unquote tackles. Guess what? That's all guard fun. Guard and center fun right there. And that's where Warmack would fit in, Fluker would fit in great. Because he likes to bowl people over. He can push people around to help Tony Romo out. He's a big man. You're not just going to run around him. And the other thing is people are kind of set in that box. You move too far, you hit the center. You move too far, you hit the tackle. He's kind of in that block, so once Fluker gets you, whether it's pass or run block, he's going to knock you down. He's going to knock your head off. So I do like him there at that position, but he may be gone too, because there's a lot of other people that also need line other than the Dallas Cowboys. Next most important position, move over to the other side of the football, is defensive tackle, or defensive line, period. Mainly defensive tackle. I think defensive ends were good. I'm not a big fan of keeping around Spencer, but that's who we got. Kind of the same Tony Romo situation. Granted, I am more of a Tony Romo fan than I am a Spencer fan. But Spencer is good enough to play, and hopefully he will repeat what he's got and won't waste our doggone money. But I do believe that he's good. He's good there. DeMarcus Ware, what he can do, put his hand in the dirt. I think it'll actually help him out a lot. Just because he can kind of focus on just going, getting after the quarterback, not have to, get out there and try and do any zone coverage or anything crazy as much. Not nearly as much. Same thing with Spencer. He doesn't have to worry about as much other stuff. He can just kind of get at the quarterback, keep contained, and kind of keep him, pin his ears back and get it done. So I do think they'll thrive there. I wish we need some more depth there. So I think in the later rounds we really need to find some cats that can help them out, especially because they're kind of older. So we can kind of pull them back and say, hey, okay, here, we're doing okay in this game. We don't need you every single hit, or whatever. We can kind of spell them out. So we do need some cats there. But where we need to focus on that line, that defensive tackle, because we do have Ratliff, and I think I kind of differentiate with Shango here too. I think Ratliff will actually do really, really good in that new spot in that 4-3. I think he'll do a lot better. The reason being is because he's a defensive tackle. That's what he got. That's what we picked him up for. Granted, his size, says more 4 than opposed to 3, but we put him in that 3 as that nose tackle, and he did pretty good. He's one of the better nose tackles. I'd say he's probably top 15, top 10 nose tackle that's actually still playing. I would say he's up in there definitely. So you move him out, and now he's going to get a whole boatload less of double teams. He is. That's just the nature of his beast now. He's going to get a lot less. So you can kind of let him do the same things DeMarcus Ware and Spencer, and just let him pin his ears back and whip butt. Granted, I don't think he's going to be at that sap level, which we really want at a defensive tackle. I don't think he's going to be at that level. But I think he's been beat up so much by the nature of double teams, the center of the guard, or the other guard and the other center, or pulling somebody, and the guard is always hitting that nose tackle. Because if you're going to run, especially between the tackles, you have to move the nose guard. And so that's what he's had to do, is after he had to endure that, taking up double teams, so then Sean Lee and the other linebackers could come in there and smoke the run. So now he's got one dude 80% of the time. I would even say he's probably got one dude that he's just got a man. The only thing I don't like about him is I don't think he's fast enough, or he's got that quickness that I've seen that we kind of needed defensive tackle for this kind of scheme, to be able to move side to side, get up in there. He might surprise me. I don't have any straight numbers on this cat, but I think he may struggle a little bit there. But like I said, that'll move itself out as soon as he figures out, hey, I'm not nose tackle anymore. Guess what I can do? Look what I can do. So I think he'll be good there. But on the other tackle, I don't see very much of anything. I see Hatcher and maybe Crawford. Those are good guys. And we probably have some other guys further in the bench. But I think those are depth guys. We don't really necessarily want them to straight just start. I don't see that. I wouldn't like that. I'd rather get a tackle than strap. I would say first, second round kind of tackle kind of dude. That's where definitely I would spend some time on, first, second round. I got Richardson, keeps on coming back to the Cowboys in least recent mock drafts I've seen on NFL and on ESPN. I see that, and that wouldn't be too bad first round. I'd rather not. I'd rather get one of those two guards, maybe look hard at Fluker and Kenny Vaccaro. We'll get that a little bit later too. But if he's there, I'd have to look at, like I said, a little bit more of his scouting report and some of his combine stuff. But yeah, that'd be nice. I would like that. I would like him, if he's as good as people say he is, to get in that. And I think it's the 3 technique is what it actually is called. I'll get in that technique and show him how it's done. And then you have Hatcher and Crawford coming in to kind of spell those dudes out, and get them some deep breaths. And then we have a really nice looking line, I would say. If we can get a person in there that's actually a good bona fide starter, the only thing he needs to get is spelled out. I would like that a lot. All right, now moving on to the next piece is our linebacker corps. I think that's probably one of the most important pieces to this 4-3 defense. A lot of people say it's the line. I would say it would be linebackers. Just by virtue that they've got a lot more real estate to cover now as a linebacker as they did when they were playing the 3-4. They've got a lot more real estate, so they've got to be quick and they've got to be sure tacklers, because you don't necessarily have as many helping linebackers to come help you out. You can't just kind of hold and kind of wait. You've got to be able to hold and pull down by yourself. You've got to be able to fight off some blocks and hit by yourself, because you're the only backer there. The only thing after you is safeties. And you got the strong and the will, coming from the side, but between the tackles, man, that's all you in the middle. Not saying that I don't think we have the personnel though. I think Sean Lee will do really good there, because I think he's quick enough. He's got decent instincts. If he could just stay upright and on the field, we'd be good. And that's a really big thing. I'm 100% with Shango. Watch his videos on what he thinks about that, with Sean Lee and that, with that depth chart, because I'm 100% with him on that. Basic, long story short, he's a great player, but we probably need somebody to back him up, because he's probably going to be broke. And I kind of move with that. I do think we should have somebody backing him up, just in case he does get broke. Not saying that he'll 100% get broke, because but I do think that we could have somebody back there. But that's later on in the draft if we've got the extra picks. I could see us getting that linebacker to just specifically back up Lee, or a specific backup linebacker. All right, but the big thing that I see that we have a hole at linebackers, we're missing one. We're either because we got Bruce Carter, I could see him starting. I can see him being a pretty good starter. Same thing, he gets hurt a lot, so we need some depth there, obviously. And then a lot of people are saying we'll put Mr. Durant on the other side. Looking good. I don't know a lot about Durant. I haven't seen him play a lot. When I did see him play, he looked all right. So I can see that. But I'd rather have a bona fide guy that 100% count on without injuries. Without that, and you may not find that in the draft. You're right. You don't know. You're drafting a guy. You're kind of winging it. That's what a draft is. You're kind of winging it. You look at what he's got. He looks good. You throw him out there, and he may not be nearly as good as his numbers say. There's 100,000 draft busts that you could probably find, not just including the first round guys, but draft busts period that never even make it onto the field. So you're right. You may not, but I'd rather have somebody there to either push these guys to make sure they don't get hurt. Because hey man, this guy's just about as good as I am. If I get hurt, I may not ever touch the field again. I may get Aaron Smiths, or Alex Smith, excuse me, Alex Smiths in this bad boy. I don't want this guy to be my new Colin Kaepernick. So at the linebacker position, so you got that. Not to mention you got the depth to be able to spell these guys to say, hey, come here. You're getting tired, flying around there. Good work. You get in there. It's not a huge drop off. So I do think we really need to address this in the top 3 rounds. It's this linebacker spot. And I'll tell you some guys that I'm looking at right now. Just to recap, because I did go over a few things pretty quick, is what I think we should be looking at so far in the first 3 rounds, especially top 2, is guard, or O-line, period, and tackle, and D-tackle to be specific, and linebacker. Those are the 3 things we should be looking for right now. Now we'll go on to the back end of the defense and go over to DB. DB, I think we're good on the outside. Mo Clay looks really good. I think he'll move up. I was hoping we would have actually, jumped a little higher on Patrick Peterson the year before, but we didn't. So we got Mo Clay. I think Mo Clay is going to do really good. You start to develop a little more. I think this new system, if we can get as much pressure, will really help him out. Brandon Carr, same thing. I think he's really good. I don't think he's had enough experience to really mentor Mo Clay as much as a super vet, but he's good enough to keep him out of trouble, kind of thing. I'm not talking about off the field. I'm talking about on the field, kind of out of trouble. Like, hey man, here's some little techniques I can show you that kind of help me out. Hey, I've been in this position before. Let me show you that. I think he's got that kind of thing, but I don't think he's got that Darrelle Revis kind of thought. Like, hey man, watch this. Boop. Oh, okay. That's how you've been doing that for years. He doesn't have that kind of influence on him. But I do think that those 2 right there, that's probably the strength, or one of the strengths of our defense right there, or will be one of our strengths. It wasn't as big a strength as I wanted last year, but I think it will become one of our strengths, especially when DeMarcus Ware starts to fade backward. I think those guys will be able to step up too. Because just saying with DeMarcus Ware, he's getting old. I love the guy. He's probably my favorite player on the Dallas Cowboys, but he's going to be getting old soon. He's going to be getting hurt. He's going to be getting to that point where he's more of a relic than he's actually a football player. I don't see that next year. I see maybe 3-4 years down the line where he starts getting that. I'm not hitting double digits anymore. Next, the safeties. We need help there. That's it. I don't feel comfortable with any of the safeties starting. The reason I say that is because everybody's all brand new. I agree with Shango with saying that nobody's really proved themselves there. Matt Johnson, the guy I've never even seen the cat. I didn't know who he was when we got drafted. I had to look him up on NFL.com after I found out. That's the only thing I really know about this guy. So we need to fix that. If he's as good as we drafted him to be, then we need to get him out there to show that. Church, guy got broke. Not his fault. People happen. I played football before. I've never been injured that bad, thank God. But he's playing at a very high level, so he definitely gets injured. I understand that, but we can't use you if you're injured. We can't use you if you're injured. So we really got to work on that. We really got to work on getting somebody that's a bona fide starter. I think his name is Welston, whoever that new safety we just got. I'm kind of with Shango on that. I think he's more of a backup safety. I think he's more of a player coach kind of guy for whoever we do bring in the draft. Which, just a side note, I am hoping is Vaccaro. I wasn't 100% on him when the mocks first came out. And then as I look at him a lot more, I looked at the sports science thing, and I was pretty impressed. As I look at, I actually got into some game film, which I don't have a lot of time to do with my particular job, but I set some time down to really look at the game film on him, and he looks pretty good. He looks like some real deal stuff that we could probably use. So I am kind of sold a little bit on Vaccaro. But anyway, we'll get into that, exactly who we should pick in those rounds a little bit later in this video. But anyway, back onto the safeties. That's what he's there for. Is that I think it's Wilson. I want to say it's Wilson. Is that vet safety is there to kind of be a player coach and maybe come in some very specific roles to fill in. And I would say maybe goal line kind of things, stuff like that, where you've got to be on your P's and Q's to make sure that you're doing the right thing. It's not as much athletic as it is being able to be in the right place at the right time, because you mess up in the red zone, somebody scored. So maybe I can see him kind of coming in maybe in those situations, depending on how comfortable we are with the safeties that we've got. But I wouldn't see him straight starting over everybody, especially if we say Matt Johnson's going to be very church and we've got draft Vaccaro. I don't see him coming out there too much, especially in the later part of the season as those guys get into the scheme. I think he's going to be there to kind of help Monty Kiffin say, hey, these guys are effing out, and let me know how you want me to fix it. Okay, we're still doing the same thing we did in Tampa Bay. Got it, no problem. Hey, you're supposed to be over here. Hey, when this guy does this is what you're doing. And he can see it from a player's point of view as well, that hey, you're not that fast, so you really need to come over here, and do this, because you're not going to be fast enough to make up 5 yards on a guy like this. So I think that he'll be able to help out with that, just as far as even basic technique all the way up to the little intricacies of the new defense that we're putting in there. Flipping back over to the other side of the ball, wide receiver, tight end. Wide receiver, I think we're pretty good at. Me personally, I would kind of like to try and trade away Miles Austin, and everybody's like, holy cow, stop listening to this guy now if you didn't already stop listening to me. No, I do think we should try and get rid of Miles Austin, just because, one, he's kind of getting up there in years. He's been broken the last couple of years, and he just hasn't been what we need. And what we need there is a dependable, handed wide receiver that's going to be there every single play. We need a complement basically to Jason Witten at the wide receiver spot. We need a guy that has hands, that he's not going to make spectacular plays every single time. That's Des Bryant's kind of category. And if we can get one that can do both, that's great. But we need somebody that Tony Romo is. When Witten's, all security blanketed up by the defense, we got another wide receiver that can catch the football, get first down, and that's it. We need a person that can do that. We got a Blazer in Bryant, and we got a really good guy. And let me not mess up this guy's name. I know Shango really likes him, a wide receiver, and that is Harris. There we go, Harris. I do believe that Harris was another speedster out there in the third slot. I don't know about Cole or Beasley too much. I can kind of see him coming in there. He's about the same height as I am, so I'm kind of rooting for him just because of the little guy kind of syndrome kind of thing we got going on. So we got the third guy kind of playmaker kind of thing, especially with Harris. We definitely got those Harrison and Bryant out there, doing their things with the burners. We need a wide receiver that's just got hands. Like I said, an extra tight end that'll make sure that he can get those first downs. And I don't see Austin doing that as much, because when he's out there, he's spectacular. He really is. He really is really good. But that's only when he's out there, and I guess I can even happen that way when he's out there 100%. Because if you're out there at 25, 50%, are you really doing anything? You don't have the name of Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson comes out, and if he's 25%, he's still getting in your ass. So Miles Austin isn't that kind of guy. We hear he's at 50%. You throw a corner out there, you might throw your nickel out there, your nickel corner out there, and you're okay, because he's not 100%. He's not doing what he normally does. Now, if he's doing what he normally does, you probably almost need a double team, and then you get that Julio Jones and Ronnie White kind of situation that they got in Atlanta. When he's 100%. I like him when he's 100%, but he's not. He's getting old. We don't have time to wait for you to keep on getting 100%. And while he still got value, I trade him up, because in this draft, I see that there's a couple of guys that can kind of fit his role right now. You got Patterson that can fit his role. You've got Tavon Austin that would do better than his role. You've got Justin The other guy from Tennessee, I can't remember his name right now. He's good at that. Some of those, and that's basically in that 3 to 4 round range. That we could probably get for Austin, 3 to 4 round, or 1 to 4, excuse me, 1 to 4 round range that we can get for Austin. And maybe even a pick next year, which we could use. We could use more picks because we need that more depth. And that would also maybe help out the salary cap. Not 100%. Shango really got the salary cap kind of thing down. So if you want to really look at that, go back to Shango's video. That should be linked, I think, to this one a little bit. I think somehow I'm going to try and respond to it or something. I'm not 100% on this YouTube thing, but I should be able to respond to it somewhere down there where you can do that. Hopefully Shango doesn't mind. If he does, he'll let me know in a very personal message probably. But anyway, definitely. I'll link it up there. And hopefully this video will be the response. You'll actually have listened to Shanko's video before you look at mine. But anyway, okay, back on to what I was talking about. With Austin, I think we could trade him, do some decent picks, because there's some guys that need some wide receivers. They don't necessarily want to go out there and take a chance on them, and we could do that. We can kind of take a chance on a wide receiver because we have Bryant. We have a pretty solidified guy. Granted, I do think he needs to continue to develop, and I'm not putting all my beans in Bryant, and that's another thing. I don't want to put all my beans in Bryant. So if we bring another young talent in there, that one helps out Bryant because he's got a little bit more competition. Because he understands him and Miles are kind of set in their ways. We bring in another guy, kind of mixes it up a little bit. Say, hey Bryant, you're good. Keep developing. Guess what? Now you're no longer just a follower to Miles Austin. You are now a leader. You have to lead these people. And the best way to know if somebody's learned something is to have them teach it. If you don't know me, I'm in the Army, and I think that's one of the best ways to see if soldiers understand something is to have them teach other soldiers. That new task I've got, just kind of supervise it. Same thing with how I would believe in football, is if you teach Des Bryant the ways and how things are supposed to be done, and you think he's got it, you think he's moving forward, the best way to test him is for him to start to teach that new wide out. Granted, that's why you got coaches, because if he's really effing the pooch here, you have a coach to come and sit in there and be like, okay, both of you guys need to listen. You guys are both effing this up, and that's what coaches are there for. But I do believe that that would be good for him. That would be really, really good for him to start filling up that leadership role, filling up that big brother role, saying, okay, now not only do I have to have a good influence for me, but I'm now influencing another Cowboy. I'm now influencing another player, another guy. So let me make sure my shit's served on straight. So when he comes in the locker room, he's like, okay, he's not effing up, so I'm not effing up, kind of thing. And I hope it works. It's not 100%, but that's what I would hope that would work with that. But the other thing is you got to get a good character guy too. To know if he is jacking up, don't follow him into the pit. So I can see that. Don't think Dallas is going to do that. I think Jerry loves Mr. Austin, so don't see it happening. But that's what I would do. I would kind of shock him a little bit. I wouldn't say necessarily just put him on the thumbtack and say whoever wants him, throw the darts in there and whatever we get, we get. I'm not saying we're at that desperation mode, but I'd throw him up there, see what people want to say about it. Just because we can't afford to let him go and pick up one of these cats in the draft. So anyway, tight end, basically the same thing as wide receiver almost. We're pretty much good to go with Witten. I think he's got a year or two left in the tank where he'd be pretty good. And then I think he'll start to taper off before he gets out of here in about 4 years. Hannah, I'm pretty impressed with Hannah. I want to see a little bit more hands from him, some bigger plays with him, but blocking and the basic position need Hannah can do. And I think that he's pretty good there. I think we might kind of agree again with Shango, referring to that video again. I do kind of agree with him in saying that we could use a later in tight end and more of a blocking tight end. I don't necessarily agree with maybe the blocking piece because I think you should always have tight ends that fit your exact scheme. And what I mean by that is we don't use our tight ends necessarily to block as much as other teams do. We're more of a passing tight end kind of guy, so we always want passing tight ends there. And I would say you want to more teach them to block than opposed to trying to teach them how to catch, because you never know what happens. You never know. Hannah and Witten go down, and now you have this blocking tight end. No, I'd rather have the fact of, there we go. I had to sneeze. I'd rather have the fact that both of these tight ends are together. I'd like to have them where we have the depth in there, where they're just slot guys. Fit them in the slot, because they're all the same. They're just, some are better at what they're doing, but they're still the same kind of basic guy. And you just continue to mold, you continue to play, you continue to do the same thing when that person leaves. Like I said, we've been doing a pretty good job. Marcellus Bennett, I wish we could have kept him. Obviously we couldn't, because he's moving on to do bigger and better things. So yeah, good guy. I forgot the other tight end we lost, but obviously we're pretty good at getting tight ends. Granted, I do agree with Shango. I think he said before in a different video that we do try to draft him high. We don't really need to draft him that high, so I do agree with that. But if we can find a good guy down the line that can catch the football, you know, he has potential to block, so we can use him as a block tight end until he's ready to come out there and catch a couple of balls. That'd be great. That would be ideal there. Running back, I do believe we do need somebody to help out Mr. Murray. Mr. Murray, I think, is a really good running back. Really, 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 really good. Not great, but really, really, really good. You know, and I think that the first thing is he needs to do everything, if he has everything that he can to stay healthy, because he needs to really do that. And I hope that he does not pull a who am I thinking of here? Not Tashard Choice, Felix Jones. There we go. Hope he doesn't pull Felix Jones and comes in fat, because if that's the case, kick both of them off. I guess Felix is already gone, but we should never go after Felix again. I do like Felix, but when he started, I'm with Shango on that, when you can't come to play football in the correct shape, and you're not even the bona fide starter right now, or you had some competition with Murray and you still can't come and be ready to play football, then you don't have the motivation to play football. And then you came and you played like crap. You know, okay, maybe not 100% like crap, maybe I'm kind of exaggerating it, but you didn't play good. You know, and if you don't play good, and you came in, you know, all effed up, and you lost your job, you know, and there's no motivation there to get any better, you need to leave. You do, because we don't need that on this kind of football team. We really do need to change our culture to getting, if you either play or you leave. Not, hey, let's go to the Dallas Cowboys, collect some money, you know, and hang out. No, this is not the bank. This is the Dallas Cowboys. We need to come over here, knock people's heads off, which I'll get into if we still have this video of what kind of culture change we need in that. But next, we do need somebody to kind of spell Murray. Eddie Lacy would be nice, but he's gone. I think the guy from who am I thinking of? North Carolina. He's real nice. He's gone. So somebody in the fourth and down rounds we could put in there to kind of spell him up. I was kind of hoping we could maybe get a deal with Bradshaw. Granted, we didn't have the cap space then, but I was hoping we could have got a deal with Bradshaw, and those two would have been nice, because I think in, you know, kind of the same theory in a fantasy draft kind of thing. I don't know how much Bradshaw got signed, but that's kind of irrelevant for what I'm trying to illustrate here. I'm thinking of more the fantasy draft thing where you handcuff running backs, where you handcuff, you know, you got a guy that you think is going to get injured, so you handcuff him to his backup, you know, so you keep it going. Kind of the same thing here, where if, because both of them can't really, as of right now, finish a full season taking the full load. So if you give them half a load and half a load, they should be great, because they're great running backs and they only take half the load. So, you know, and they're kind of in that same realm as kind of the same running back too, so it doesn't really change what you're going to do. You know, when this guy's in, you have to run up the gut, you know, and pound away. The other guy's more of an outside speed guy. No, they're kind of the same kind of running back, so you just kind of keep doing the same thing. You know, you just whoop, 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 and keep changing the numbers out. Like, hey, you know, you come in real quick. Oh, yeah, you know, you're almost breathed hard. Come here. You go in for a couple plays. Okay, you're starting to breathe hard. Come here. You go in for a couple plays, and you can kind of keep it moving, keep it pushing, as we say. And that would be really nice. Like I said, I don't know if the numbers would have worked and all that kind of stuff, but I would have really liked us to try and handcuff those two together, just because they're so dramatic, or dynamic, excuse me, so dynamic when they're out there playing at 100%. You've got two dynamic running backs now that don't have to necessarily do it on every single play. So that would have been nice. But like I said, that was a wish list. I might put a wish list video out, because I got some things where we could have used lost Spears and we would have had a lot more salary cap and all kinds of other stuff that I would have put out. But we'll just stick to this draft thing. And that next to the draft thing, I think that's all the positions that we need to go over. So back up to the rounds here. Like I said, so in the first round, I would like to see Warmack or Cooper. That would be our dream right there. Those are probably not going to be there. Like I said, just because so many people need linemen, they are so good, and there's really no one else there to really just push them away. Like, there's not a big overabundance of pass rushers where you're like pass rusher or tackle, pass rusher or tackle. There's a lot of guys with a lot of potential, like Ziggy Ansah, like Marcus Hunt, like Mingo, but they're just not that guy. They're not the DeMarcus Ware, if you will, of this draft, where you get him and you know what you're kind of getting. You are getting a great pass rusher kind of thing. I don't see that in those guys. They might be bigger, they may be faster, they might be have better potential, but you also have a 100. The one I would have said was 100 was Jarvis Jones until he tested like he was, eating turkeys. And I was like, oh, okay, he didn't test as well as I thought. So okay, slide over. So that would have been the only guy I would have said that was that high, and he kind of moved himself out of there without he tested. I understand, tests aren't 1,000 as opposed to actual play on the field, but I believe if you're a great player, you need to test well and play well. That's the same thing, but opposite side of Ziggy Ansah. I think Ziggy Ansah is a great tester. Has a great potential. But on the same thing, he didn't play at that level. And you haven't shown me anything other than the fact that you can run a nice 40 and you can do things without pads. Put pads on, understand my scheme, and do that within my scheme, then I'll be pretty impressed. But until then, can't. I can't trust that. I can't go off the fact that, well, you're a big guy, so you should be able to do this. You're a fast guy, you should be able to do this. So that part, that's why I say these guards are going to be gone, because they've shown it. They show it, they test well, they look like they're supposed to be in those positions. They check both blocks in that area. They need to be there. So they need to get drafted. So that leaves Vaccaro, which I can't remember who said it on NFL.com. I really liked what they said, though, but Vaccaro is basically a lot of people's fallback, which it happens to be the Cowboys kind of fallback almost, because we'd like the two guards, but I don't think they're going to be there. So I do see Vaccaro being a lot of people's fallback, like the Saints, who else is out of this? Well, mostly the Saints would be the biggest one I'm thinking of, because I think they're going to steal him before we get there, because I think Mr. Ryan over there is definitely going to try and screw us over both ways by picking up some of the guys that we lost in free agency, and then now picking up our guy in the draft. But anyway, Mr. Vaccaro, if we could get him, maybe he'd be a pretty good pick. I'm not saying, like I said, I think the two guards would be a lot better. But even Fluker might be better. Like I said, I would have to really look at tape before I took a risk on Fluker as opposed to Vaccaro. And especially if I was a brand new GM, I'd probably take Vaccaro, because you're not going to get as much scrutiny as if Vaccaro doesn't pan out, because he just looks like he should pan out, as opposed to DJ Fluker, where you're like, hey man, we already said he wasn't a guard. You're the one that tried to change positions on a guy. So yeah. I'll definitely probably take Vaccaro, especially with our first round pick. We can't afford, like I said, to be kind of whimming it here and being like, oh, well, it didn't turn out, now we got a good player, we don't know what to do. No, we need Vaccaro, then I would take there. I would look also, though, the only thing that I would say a negative about taking Vaccaro in the first round is the fact that there's so many good safeties. And this is where I might get a little bit of flack from, but I think this is huge that we really need to look at when you're talking about drafting a safety like Vaccaro, is not how good Vaccaro is, but how good are the other guys behind him. How much better is Vaccaro than the guys behind him? That's what you would really need to look at before you would draft Vaccaro. How good is Mr. Reed? How good is Mr. Cyprien? How good is Mr. Elam? And those are the next three that are under this guy. How good are they? Because if they're about the same, Vaccaro is better, but Reed is, in your opinion, right behind the guy for your scheme, for what he's worth, then I would draft or trade down, let somebody else take Vaccaro and grab Reed, grab Elam, grab Cyprien, or even better yet, we can grab that Mr. Richardson over there at D tackle at the 18 pick, and then just wait and see which one of those three are still left in the second round. Which I would probably say Cyprien, just because he's out of the smaller college, or Elam, one of those two in there. And I would say we should be able to get one of those two in the second round. I wouldn't say no sweat, because people start jumping all over the place. But especially with the way these, if you watched last year's draft, people started kind of moving around in the first round. I think they're really going to start jumping around here, especially after you've seen some of the jump arounds kind of pay off. So I do think they're going to move around a lot, because there's not a huge gargantuan risk that you're going to end up taking. You kind of know how much you're going to sign the guy for. You kind of plan for your jump around. But that's a little bit off of it. So I would definitely say, okay, that's not a huge big deal if we don't get Vaccaro, because we still get Elam, or we still get Cyprian, because they're not I graded this guy at a 90, and the other guy's a 98 point, or 97, not too big of a gap between the two guys, or maybe not 97, but excuse me, 87 or something like that. Not too huge of a gap, and then when we compare him to our scheme, he actually fits our scheme very well. So those are things you want to look at before you grab Vaccaro, is if there's a guy almost like him that mirrors him, and you can pick him up in the second round for a better value, and you use that pick on somebody that you can't get in that round. It's almost impossible for you to get other than getting in that round. That's what you want to get. You want to get a bona fide starter that's definitely going to play, that fits a need, and that also you can't get anywhere else. That would be absolutely perfect for our pick, and that's what we're going for. So I would definitely take a D tackle there, because I don't think there would be as good of a D tackle in the second round. There's a lot of them, but I think they're all going to be gone in the first round, because there's a lot of people that need a D tackle, that can use a D tackle. Maybe not even necessarily need, but can use one, could really get in there and fight and play. So that's what we want to do. Second round, kind of already alluded to the second round. I say we pick up, if we didn't pick up Vaccaro, I definitely say we pick up Cyprian or Elam, because those are the two I think that'll probably be there. Maybe even picking up Reed in there too, if he still slides back. But that's who I see picking up in the second round. I also see us picking up our linebacker, our will linebacker, or strong linebacker, wherever you don't put the other guy at. That's where I see us taking a linebacker too in there, and I do like the guy from Kansas. I know he played middle, but it looks like he's got enough speed to play down there on one of the sides. He's got good instincts. He's quick. There's also a guy from Rutgers, but I think we might be able to get him in the third round, which I'll get to in a second. But I think that'll be there. I was looking at this mock draft, though. It kind of made me a little mad. Not really mad. Just kind of thought, what are you thinking? Over here on NFL.com with let's see who did it. Let's see who did this Josh Norris guy from NFL.com, draft analyst. Probably makes a lot more money to do this thing than I am. Probably puts more research in it than I do, so I will give him his credit. But I didn't necessarily agree with the picks that he had. Almost overall, I do agree with some of the things, like he had Ziggy so kind of dropping. He had Fluker and Cooper and Chance Warmack going way before the Cowboys could even get to sniff him a little bit. And they did have him taking Sheldon Richardson, so I did agree with that one, especially if they're gone. I didn't see him too much reaching. Like I said, Vaccaro, that's where I see the Vaccaro thing kind of coming into effect. Where Vaccaro is great, Vaccaro is the best one, but how much better is he than the other three? But then I moved down to the second round, and I see them taking a wide receiver at what number are we? The 47th pick. We take Cordell Patterson. One, I don't see Cordell Patterson being there because I think there's a lot of people that are kind of really too hyped up on Mr. Patterson. I don't think he's that good, but I do see him kind of a little more hyped up on him than a lot of people think. That's because he's so big and strong, and when they started comparing him to Julio Jones, people started thinking about that. So I do kind of see him pulling up there. But the other thing is we really don't need a Cordell Patterson unless we were going to trade Miles Austin. Now, if we did, I could see us taking Cordell Patterson. Great job. But I also see that he kind of juiced us on a safety. They took him all. There's this guy from Syracuse that would have been still there. This Thomas guy, Thomas Shalanko, something like that. I can't pronounce his last name or first name, excuse me. But the Thomas guy from Syracuse, which is also sliding over. How much better can we pick him up in the second, third round, as opposed to picking up Vaccaro? Does he fit our scheme? Maybe even better than Vaccaro does, or as good as Vaccaro can, and we pick him up as a value. But yeah, Alex Ogletree is who I'm thinking of. From Georgia would be nice. I think that would be able to play our linebacker, our outside linebacker. That'd be pretty nice. That's pretty much it for that round. I would say one of those guys should be there. I think we should go ahead and grab. And the next thing is third round.